Good morning, everybody. I'm Richard Parr, and you are watching Sportuccino. We are live on Tuesday, the 15th of November, 2016, on Facebook and on YouTube. It's so great to have you this morning watching our show. Join in the conversation in the comments page on Facebook. Join in the conversation on Twitter at Sportuccino. We've got so much to cover on today's show, including the ATP World Tour Finals of tennis. We're going to be talking about the international friendlies such as England versus Spain. Plus, we're going to look at the options open to professional footballers and athletes and sports stars once they leave their sporting careers. We're going to be looking at that and much, much more on today's Sportuccino. But let's start the day like we do every day with our morning sports headlines.
Andy Murray beats Marin Cilic 6-3, 6-2 in his opening match at the ATP World Tour Finals in London. In the other group game, Kai Nishikori beat the US Open champion Stan Wawrinka 6-2, 6-3. Captain Wayne Rooney pulls out of England's friendly with Spain at Wembley tonight with a knee injury. Eli Manning throws 3 touchdowns as the New York Giants beat the Cincinnati Bengals 21-20.
If you've got any thoughts on some of those top stories in sport, let us know on the Sportuccino Twitter page at Sportuccino. Well, today's show is brought to you by Barclays Eagle Labs. Barclays Eagle Labs allows small businesses to create, innovate and to grow using Barclays co-working spaces and their private offices. It's really easy to learn more about them. Just go to labs.uk.barclays or just go to their Twitter page at Eagle_Labs. Thanks to them for sponsoring today's show. If you would like to sponsor one of our future Sportuccino episodes, it's so easy. If you know how to use email, then you can send us an email. It's sportsdesk@sportuccino.com. And you can send us any other feedback you would like about the show to that address as well. We would love to hear from you. All right, every single weekday morning we run a poll talking about all things related to sport. So let's have a look what's on our Twitter page today. What we want to know from you is, would you like to see Frank Lampard back in the Premier League? Lampard has now left his team in New York. He's been at New York City FC for the last year or so. Before that, he was at Manchester City, and of course, he had that long career at Chelsea and started his career at West Ham. But would you like to see him back in the Premier League? He's 38 now. Is he too old? Would you like to see Frank Lampard back in the Premier League? Let us know on the Twitter page. Also, let us know in the Facebook comments section. We would love to hear from you. So let's have a look at the result of yesterday's poll. Yesterday's poll, we were talking about the notorious Conor McGregor. Got that amazing victory at UFC 205 against Eddie Alvarez at Madison Square Garden on Saturday. Absolutely unbelievable performance. He's the first 2-division champion, lightweight and featherweight, I believe. And we want to know what you want him to do next. And 40% of you said you want him to defend his lightweight title. Nobody wants him to defend his featherweight title. 20% of you want him to move up to middleweight and become a 3-time champion. And 40% of you think he should retire. So it's either retire or defend his new title. You're with a bit of a split decision there for Conor McGregor on the poll. So we've got some big international football friendlies tonight. England face Spain. Spain have won their last 5 matches under their new coach, Lopetegui. It's the last game for Gareth Southgate since he became the interim manager after Sam Allardyce left the post. What do you think about Southgate? Should he keep the role? Let us know on Facebook, let us know on YouTube, let us know on Twitter. We would love to get your thoughts. He wants to know by the end of the month, should he be setting these time limits with the FA? Is he in that stronger position to be able to do so? He hasn't got 100% record as the England manager in the qualifying. Unlike Roy Hodgson, who won all of his matches Is it good enough? Has he done enough? Or was that 3-0 win over Scotland enough for him to seal the job? Let me know on the Facebook page. A couple of other ones I want to mention. It's France versus Ivory Coast. No Antoine Griezmann for that match for the French. But what about this? Italy versus Germany. And what's really interesting about this is they're going to be trialling video replays. There's going to be 2 video assistant referees, and they'll look at goals scored, they'll look at penalties awarded, red cards, mistaken identities, and it's all part of a semi-live trial. But the referee will not be allowed to review the footage on a pitch side monitor. Is this the way football should be going? Do you like the things like they use for Hawkeye in tennis and cricket? Do you like when they go to the video replay and the referee in rugby? Is football lagging behind, or is football its own special case? Let us know what you think. I think that's really interesting, especially when they're trialing it at such a great match between Italy and Germany. It'd be really great to get your thoughts on that. We've got a comment here from Tim Elliott. He's speaking about Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard is a true gentleman. I'd love to see him working his way towards being a future leading manager in the Premier League. Is being a footballer enough to be a manager? Well, that's a big question. Or should you need more coaching badges? Should you start from the bottom? That's something for us all to consider, and maybe you can mention on Facebook. All right, so speaking about what players can do after their career, it's quite an important thing to think about, especially for some of the players who don't necessarily earn the money, let's say, that Frank Lampard does. You know, Lampard's probably earned a lot of money throughout his career. But, you know, when you look at the professional leagues in England, you've got 4 leagues. You've got athletes who are mainly funded by the lottery to go to the Olympics. And so when their sporting career ends, they need to start thinking about what the next step is of their career. Well, there's a new company called Life After Professional Sport called LAPS, and they're looking to offer advice, networking and job opportunities for future, current and former elite athletes, and they help decide which career will suit that athlete best after support, giving them support and advice such as preparing their CV and giving interview techniques. They've worked with a few top athletes already. Why don't you have a look at some of the sports stars that they've spoken to and worked with in their life after professional sport.
My name is Dr. James Isaacson. I'm a chiropractor, principal chiropractor at Life Chiropractic in Gateshead. I was a professional rugby union player for Newcastle Falcons for 7 years, and then I moved to Leeds Tykes, who are now Yorkshire Carnegie, for 2 years.
I rode in the lightweight double scull in the Beijing Olympics and the London Games, came away with the gold and silver medals respectively. Since retiring, I've trained as a personal trainer, so I spent 3 years or so working with people trying to improve their fitness, trying to help them lose weight and perfect their goals. And I'm just about to launch a gym, trying to bring that to more people and encourage more people to live a healthy lifestyle.
I was at Durham until the age of 21, then moved on and spent 4 years at Somerset and finished with 4 years at Derbyshire. Turned 30, contract didn't get renewed, and it was time to kind of look and get out into the real world, so to speak. And now I am a medical sales representative for a company called Henley's Medical Supplies.
Well, joining me now on Sportuccino this morning is the founder of LAPS, Life After Professional Sport, and the Exeter City footballer, Robbie Simpson. Robbie, welcome to Sportuccino this morning. Where did you get the idea of setting up this type of company which can help professional sports athletes?
It was a chance meeting, really. On LinkedIn, I made a connection with a Cambridge United fan called Rob Steed. I was playing for Cambridge at the time, and Rob worked in recruitment, and he happened to have an Olympic rower that he placed in a job, and the company where he placed him called him back about 3 months later and said, "Have you got any other ex-professional athletes that you can send our way?" And Rob said, "No." Why? And the company said, "Well, he's broken every sales record we've ever had from a newcomer in the first 3 months." So I guess the characteristics that they saw in him, they thought would be in other ex-professional athletes, and Rob was like, right, how can I get to more professional athletes and more retired professional athletes? And he contacted me on LinkedIn, and we met, and he asked me what kind of support there was for footballers, with me being a footballer, for life after retirement. My honest answer was not a lot, although I have to say it is getting better. The PFA are doing more and more. But we thrashed our heads together. Initially, Rob sort of thought about a job board, but then I sort of wanted to do a lot more than that. And we've come up with LAPS, which is a whole career resource platform for retiring athletes, not only after they've retired, but for during they're retired, to help prepare them. So yeah, that's how we came about, and we've got to a stage now where we think it's pretty good, and we hope to develop it even further. And we hope a lot of professional athletes, current and ex, will register.
Now, you mentioned some of the characteristics which help that one athlete break sales record. What are some of these characteristics that sports stars have which they can take into a professional life afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, professional sports people have become professional sports people for a reason. They've got great attributes, and them attributes are easily transferable into business. You know, most athletes are goal orientated and achievement orientated. They learn from failure quickly. They constantly improve themselves every day. They work well in a team for the team goal. Very selfless. They're resilient. I mean, the list can go on. They've got great grit and determination to make it into professional sport in the first place. They're usually good communicators, especially if they work in a team. And a lot of athletes are, not all, because I think of a couple of one tennis player in particular isn't, but they've got great ability to be coached and they take direction well, you know. So the list can go on, really. I mean, it's the very fact that they've become a top athlete, a professional athlete, is pretty much evident in itself that they've got the good characteristics and the perfect characteristics to transfer and succeed in the business world.
There must be some frustration, though, for some athletes. You know, when you played, let's say, in football, and you played in front of thousands of people, or rugby, and you become that focal point, and all of a sudden you're sat behind a computer and you're sat behind a desk. What kind of advice do you give some of these sports stars when they move from one massive arena to basically a cubicle?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point. I think that there's a famous quote, I think, from Sugar Ray Leonard, that nothing could satisfy him outside the ring. You know, nothing could compare to lifting a world title belt in front of thousands of people, and sadly, that's common. You know, athletes post-retirement do develop a kind of loss of identity, I'd say, and I think that's a big reason why depression at the minute, which is a bit of a talking point at the minute, especially in football, is high. You know, I think I can speak from football, and I think the PFA came out not too long ago and said that 70% of footballers suffer from depression post-retirement, and that's a huge stat, and one that my eyes lit up, and something has to be done about that, and I'm hope that LAPS can help with that a lot. Actually, you know, athletes have a wonderful chance to succeed in the professional world post-retirement. They really do, and my advice would be to keep an open mind, to prepare, and refuse to take no for an answer when they are preparing and maybe wanting work experience or whatever. Just refuse to take no for an answer, like they have with they're planning to become a professional athlete. You know, they've taken knockbacks and they've refused to give up and carried on going without a doubt. And I think they need to take that drive into the business world post-retirement. you know, you're a long time retired, and it's the majority of sports, it is a short-term career. So it's never too early to plan.
Now, how easy is it to get some of these companies on boards? You know, when I look at your CV, for example, I wouldn't say that you're a typical footballer. You know, you've got a maths and sports science degree from Loughborough. Not every footballer has. And, you know, the general perception towards footballers in particular, and some other sports athletes as well, is that they're not very bright, that they're not very educated. Does there need to be some change of mindset in various industries to say, actually, you know, these guys have achieved the best they can do in one field, there's no reason that they can't do it in another field?
Yeah, exactly that. And I do think, and we're trying to at the minute, sort of change that mindset in companies and in the business world. I would say footballers probably get the worst of it, the worst stereotype in terms of footballers are thick. But there's a lot more footballers now doing degrees. Like I say, I was a bit unique getting mine before I became a professional, but I can think of Matt Smith and Dave Wheeler with me at Exeter that have both done the same. And I think there's a lot more that are coming into the game post-degree. And there's certainly a lot more completing degrees whilst they're playing. I mean, like I said, the PFA are getting better and better. They're offering lots and lots more courses of a wide variety. I know a couple of lads at Exeter now are doing sport business courses and sports broadcast and journalism courses, which are great. And the more that keeps building, the better. But with LAPS, I think we can take it to that next level. We cover over 200 job roles that athletes can look into, research, figure out whether it's right for them or wrong for them, and plan whilst they're playing to hopefully have a successful second career post-retirement.
Do we have the system wrong in the UK then? Should we not be more like the Americans, you know, where they put people through a college program, get them to get a degree, they're still playing at a high level in front of many, many people, and then go on to professional sports? Would that not be a better way? Because if you look at the way, again, we'll use football as an example, you've got, when we had Simon Watts on talking about footballers out of contract, you know, you've got teams like Chelsea and Arsenal, and they're stockpiling players and then sending them further down the lower leagues. Now, would it not be better if there was a kind of system where players are getting educated up to the age of 21, get their degrees, then they're able to play at a professional level, and then they've already got a background for when they leave the sport? Does the whole system need to change?
Possibly. It's not for me to say, but in terms of duty of care for footballers in particular, yes. But for, I guess, from...
Oh, I think we've lost Robbie there. It's been great to hear from him. It's been really good to have Robbie on the show. That was Robbie Simpson, the Exeter City footballer and the founder of Life After Professional Sport. It's been so great to have him on the show.